Hi and welcome to the show. My next guest epitomizes professionalism, elegance and class. A journalist, presenter and TV producer with a passion for fashion, she has become an indispensable presenter of the greatest shows on the continent. Ayden, welcome to The Scoop. It's really nice to have you here.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Salim.
Thank you. Ayden, that's not your birth name. You've kind of put it together as a mixture of all the initials of your actual name. What's your full name?
I began with music.
Okay.
So I used my, they asked me to find a scene name. So I use Ayden as Nadine, but it's the letter of Nadine.
Okay. Journalist, presenter, TV producer, entertainer. How do you like to describe yourself? Who is Ayden?
For me, I'm a media woman. When you do journalism, you can work on the web, you can work for the press and also TV. But I love especially TV because actually it's so important to show things, and we have the advantage to show things, to show talents, to show festivals everywhere. So that's more what I do.
Tell me a little bit about your background. You're not born on the continent, but you have a great passion for Africa. But tell me a little bit about your background. It's very interesting.
Okay, I come from West Indies. My father is originally from India, because as you know, the story of West Indies is so particular because of the slavery. So my grandmother was from Africa, but I don't know exactly which country. And when I grew up, and when I began to study, I always wanted to discover the continent. And when I began to work on TV, it was a Pan-African channel, so I had the chance to discover Senegal, Togo, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, many African countries, and I just felt at home.
Well, what inspired you to get into television anyway? I mean, is that something you studied at school? Were your parents in the industry as well? Did they encourage you? No? They didn't want you to, probably. If they were anything like my Indian parents, you know, they don't want you to be in television. It's not a serious profession.
Exactly. For my parents, that was the baddest choice. So they told me, you can learn whites, things like that, but I was really passionate for media since I was a child. So I chose to learn journalism in Paris, and I became a journalist.
Any regrets on becoming a journalist? You just enjoyed every part of it?
This life is not so easy because you travel a lot. It's sometimes complicated with your private life. But as all the kind of jobs, you have to do sacrifice when you really love what you do. So that's my choice for life.
Juggling the career, you mentioned, you know, having your private life and being on the road a lot. How do you manage to juggle that part of things?
Actually, I'm mummy. I have a little baby child, so I try to travel a little bit less. But it's as other ladies who work, we can do both. And I want to be a role model for my baby girl and perhaps for other girl, other lady in the world. So I organize myself and everything is fine.
Who inspired you in the profession?
That's not very original, but I really admire the career of Oprah Winfrey. And in France, I like some journalism as Harry Roselmack is one of the first black men who present the news. And it's a so big path because France is a racism country. And for them, you can be not front of the camera, but behind. And Harry Roselmack was very good and one of the first.
Being a person of color in a country like France, it can't be an easy thing. I mean, it's not, as you said just now, they don't mind you being behind the scenes, but they don't want you to be in front of the camera. How did you overcome some of those issues, and what were some of the challenges that you had?
In fact, I think that when you are proud of your roots, you can show that to people, and you don't have nothing to prove. So France is a special country, but for example, I work with one of the biggest group, Bolloré, and sometimes I like to to have some African style. And I don't know how they will accept it, especially on TV. And they were just glad to discover things different. So in France, I just show what I like and what I love in the African culture, and that's fine.
Mentors, people that maybe helped you through various stages of your career, can you talk about some of them?
Yes, one of the person who gave me very good advice is Olivier Laoché. He's the boss of 13 TV. 13 TV actually is a big channel in many countries, and he believes in my programs.
Did you always want to be on the sort of more entertainment side? Did hard news or going and reporting news ever become part of your passion? Is that something that you wanted to do ever?
Very interesting question. In fact, I could have chosen the news, but when you read news or when you see news, so many bad news. And that's why I chose, that's the reason I chose entertainment. Because show talent in music, in fashion, or culture festival bring something different to people and help them to change their mind, to be open-minded too. So I love that.
Education-wise, did you study journalism and communication in university, or is that something that you picked up afterwards?
Sure, I studied in university, and I did a master in a special school too, and it was very interesting. But I think that this job, you learn it when you are going to meet people, to talk with them, but school was very important.
Your first visit to the continent, where was the first country that you came to in Africa?
It was in Cameroon, in Central Africa, and I was so glad. And I remember that I just went back from the plane. I feel, I don't know, it was as a victory, a personal victory, to come back to my roots, feel my ancestors, and I know that I have a big love story to live with this continent, but I couldn't say how. And today, 12 years later, I have visited more than 40 countries, African countries, some of them perhaps 15 times. And I'm so glad because each time I learn about all the people, presidents, but also the old lady in the market, or the child. That's my continent.
What are some of the best stories that you've done? What are some of the stories that have made you really satisfied while being on the continent, where you feel you've made a difference?
Sometimes when young girls come to see me and tell me I chose journalism because I want to do it like you, I said, don't do it like me. When you work, especially on TV, you have to have your own style, but you will learn a lot, even if it's hard. Sometimes it's hard with the money, but when you are passionate, that's a very good choice.
What are some of the things that you've seen change in the last 12 years of visiting the continent? What are some of the biggest things that you've seen change, either for good or bad?
Some countries really changed. For example, Equatorial Guinea. They did a wonderful job in this country. Mali also. Unhappily, the war stopped a little bit this country. But Mali, Burkina Faso, many countries are moving, and especially the young generation, I think that they are proud of their country. And even if the diaspora is sometimes far, but they want really to give something to their country, and that's so important.
We'll be right back with Ayden talking about travels through Africa and what has really changed over the last decade. Stay with me. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Ayden in Goma, Democratic Republic of Congo. Ayden, we were talking about the number of countries you visited. You've been over 40 countries on the continent. Do you have a favorite country?
That's difficult for me because my baby girl is part of Ivory Coast. Okay. His name is Nia Ivoire because of his father. So I love especially Ivory Coast, but I was touched by South Africa, touched by Rwanda. I love north of Africa for the food, for the culture, Morocco, Tunisia. And I feel so well in West Africa, countries as Togo, Senegal, Benin, feel like at home. I know very well Cameroon, Congo too, Gabon too.
How about some of the English-speaking parts of the continent? You don't mention, you know, my Kenya and other places.
Happily, I went one time in Kenya. It was only 2 days, so I hope really to come back. The same for Ethiopia. I felt something so strong in this country, and people are so beautiful, and that's one of my dreams to come back to. But unhappily, I didn't know enough the English countries.
How much time will you have your daughter spend in Africa? You want her to grow up knowing and loving her continent as much as you have grown to love this continent?
Sure. She's a little bit young, but I know that even baby can understand and feel so many things. And for example, music, you know, when she heard African music or speed music, she danced a lot. And I hope very soon to make her discover this culture and many countries.
What advice would you give young and upcoming African artists? I mean, you must talk to a lot of fashion designers and models and entertainers and artists.
I think that keep your values, keep your family strong, and do what you do with your art, with faith. Stay real is the most important to stay long in this career as artist, as journalist. Because as you said, hype could change your mind so much, but you can lose yourself deeply. And in France, I know all the famous black artists, but as I said, what you see in TV, it's not the reality. It's very hard to win very well his life as artist. So what I can say, especially for the young people, if they want to be artists, yes, but please continue to study, because when the success stops, you know that you can do something else.
But do you find that African artists that have gone overseas, now with all the opportunities opening up in Africa, they want to come back here and rediscover some of their talent and their music? I mean, African music, for example, is so influential in every genre around the world. Do you find that when you talk to African artists, a way that they're a little bit homesick and they want to come back?
There is some problem for African artists. They have so much talent, but find a white producer who put money on their videos, on their career. But when we see career as P-Square, as Fally Ipupa, as many of them, you could have success in your continent. And even if, okay, that's fine to be a star also in Europe or in the States, but I can say that many of them work a lot in Africa, and that the most part of even of their money.
Do you see that changing now, where there is a lot more money to be made in Africa, or do artists still have to be popular outside?
I think that the popularity outside came later, but it's very good and strong to be a star in your country, because I think the messages that you give, all the value, your personality could make the difference later after. But France is not the solution, or even Belgium or England, because in these countries, there are also many talented artists who tried and who sometimes have the priority in the big music industry and music films. So when you just arrive as an African artist, all the doors will not be open easily.
What advice would you give to young African media professionals, people that may also want to start, you know, following your footsteps in terms of hosting shows? What advice would you give them to make it a good career?
What I can say is I have a lot of different experiences in radio, in TV, even for free, because experience is so important, but when you can become independent. About my experience, I worked with a Pan-African channel since 5 years without to be paid. It was so hard.
It was like an internship. Basically, you were not being paid at all.
I've not been paid, but they asked me to present many shows, and that's with them that I could have discovered the continent. So later I had my own TV company, not TV company, but TV production, and that's when I began to win money. And I don't regret that, because even if it was so hard during 5 years, I had different jobs because of my studies, because it was possible, but I learned so many things, and I know today that I really love this job. And this young journalist has to know that it's not easy, but nothing is easy in life.
Nothing in life is easy to get on one.
So with their study, they can do many things, and one day try to be independent.
You've been to a lot of different events and shows. Tell me a funny story, some stories that you think would be, you know, our audience would love to hear about some of the behind the scenes of some of these shows.
Okay, one of it was in Gabon. So they used to call me as host for famous festival or awards, and it was a very big gala against cancer. Brain cancer. Okay, so it was in Gabon with the son of the president, many celebrities, and the famous football soccer player Samuel Eto'o and Didier Drogba. So our plane arrived in Cameroon before to go in Gabon, but in Gabon they closed all the frontier. It was a kind of they want to impeach the show.
So they didn't want the show to happen. They didn't.
Yes,
they wanted
exactly.
to sabotage the show. Okay.
Exactly. And with some contacts, arrived with the right plane just at the beginning of the show. It was so complicated, so I just go to the backstage, try a nice dress, because I was in jeans. It was a crazy night. But the show happened so nice. It was simply wonderful. We did something great. And what I have in my mind is we don't never let down things. We just have to keep our goal, to do it, and after that, just very big and nice memories.
Are you a religious person? Do you
Yes.
do you believe that there is a greater power that does a lot of things?
God gave a sense of my life, and I think that this job is very particular because we travel a lot. We never know which disease, with problems we can have, and God always protects me. So, and I hope that my life serves to many people as a servant.
We'll be right back with Ayden here in Goma. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Ayden in Goma. Social media is something that Africans can use to express themselves. They've never had that kind of a voice before. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that this much information is out there and people are using it?
There is both. When I remember the war in Ivory Coast, we read so many articles on Facebook, for example, but some of them were false. That's a problem. Today you can manipulate so easily the pictures, the videos. Sometimes they show things who happen in another country and put some different legends, so that's really delicate. But in the same time, media, and especially the web, the social media, is a freedom door.
If you had if you had the opportunity to talk to the leaders of Africa, all in one room, what would you tell the existing leaders, and how would you encourage young people to get into politics?
For me, the real problem of many wars is money and power. Money and power. What I could say to many presidents of this continent is you will not die with your money. And what you do, what we remember about everyone is their acts. But when you have your people who is dying because they don't even have enough rice to it, but you build castle all around Europe. You have all the nice apartments, all the nice clothes. What's that? Are you free with your mind? And just when you will arrive with God, what can you say? That's only you who know. But I think that you can make a difference as president. So please do something different.
So what would you say to young people that they must make a difference? How else are they going to make a difference?
I believe in entrepreneurship more than in politics. So I can say to young people, go in politics. No, sorry. You
prefer them to go as entrepreneurs, and you think that will generate economic empowerment that will then be able to influence politics.
Exactly. Because as I said, money is the power, but money is the problem. Everybody wants money, and sometimes politics, they don't care about how, but they want it. I think when you are a leader and when you become a big boss because of your work, you create employment, you create a career which can inspire many young people. So for me, it's more respectful sometimes.
So what do you think are some of the key messages that we as Africans can teach people in the West?
I think the first thing is to trust in us. Sometimes I'm simply disappointed to see that many young Africans take a model as the American star, but they don't know really their life and why they don't think that they can be model as they are. So just be proud of what you are, looking for your roots and create something different. I think that we have to stop to wait always and always about what the others can give to us and create some new values, because everything comes from Africa. We have these wonderful countries, we have all the toutes les richesses du monde. So why...
all the wealth and the mineral wealth.
Exactly. Yeah. So why the Chinese, the Lebanese, everyone come to Africa? There's a reason. So just trust in you, believe in you, and be proud of what you are.
Ayden, you've achieved a lot in your life already. What do you see going forward? What's the future for Ayden?
There is so many things to do. If I could, I had many more lives, because I would like to change things and to help some actions, but we have only one. So in the future, I want to continue to produce for TV. I want to organize some fashion events, because our fashion designers are so much talented. When I see what they do with less money than the French fashion designer, for example, they are so creative, and I would like to do something for them and with them. So continue in the medias and also create my own brand.
Your own brand of clothing or of clothing?
I began 5 years ago. And I stopped because of the money, but actually I have many ideas, and sometimes when I host many shows, I create some specific models, and many people want to order it. So I think that's time to do it again.
Fantastic. Good luck with that.
Thanks.
Regrets, I mean, again, if you had a chance, that magic wand to do everything again, what would you change in your life? What do you regret the most?
As you said during this interview, sometimes with the hype, you can lose your mind. And I think that's a moment in my life. I didn't keep the same values, but happily, God just stopped me. It was hard. But actually, I know who I am, what I want to do, and what I will never accept to do.
The show's called The Scoop, Ayden. So tell me something about you that very few, if any, people know about Ayden.
Oh, that's hard. That's hard. One scoop is I'm so glad of my African part, but my dream is to discover India. My father is originally from Pondicherry, and it's one of my dreams to discover these other roots. So I hope one day, sure.
You said one scoop, is there more?
One of the scoop is that I sing. That's my passion, and I did it with many famous singers as chorists, but I don't talk to it a lot.
And that's the scoop with Ayden. Join me again next week when we'll be talking to yet another great African personality. From me and the entire team of The Scoop, from the Lake Kivu Lodge here in Goma, Democratic Republic of Congo, thanks for watching. Ayden, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing with us, and it was wonderful.
And long life to The Scoop.